Yeah. Okay. Hello. I am Ramiro Adame. I will be doing my oral presentation based on the movie Wonder Woman, the 2017 Wonder Woman movie directed by Patty Jenkins. Stars Gal Gadot as, of course, Wonder Woman. Um, this movie follows the plot of the Amazon princess known as Diana to the world of man. Diana Prince Wonder Woman, again played by Gal Gadot, as she leaves her home of Themyscira, the mythical island of the Amazonians, after the arrival of the American spy, Steve Trevor, which basically gives the Amazonian women the rundown of World War One. So this movie takes place and sets place in 1917 because it's implied that it's the end of World War One. And Diana decides to leave the island to protect the world of man because it is the duty of the Amazon. And she does this because she believes that the god of war, Ares, is behind this whole war of wars. That it's a setup, and she feels that it's her duty. It has also been told by her, by her mentor, Antip, Antiope, Antiope, that, it is the duty of an Amazon to defeat Ares, the god of war, who had previously killed all the gods, and the Amazons are now the only race that could get rid of them. They've been sheltered in Themyscira for many a years now, maybe, yeah, many of years, preparing for the coming of Ares again. And of course, Wonder Woman follows this um ploy. The film, the oh wait a minute. Here. So Wonder Woman follows three simple themes. We have the theme of love versus the myth of pure evil, which, this comes about early in the film when Diana believes that all human conflicts are the result of the manipulation of Ares, the god of war, this being the pure evil instinct, right? She believes that if she destroys the god, the fighting will cease. We see this in her insistence of to telling Steve Trevor, the character played by Chris Pine, also the love interest, that once they kill Ares, the war will stop. It will immediately stop because it is Ares who is influencing man, and that is the way to seize it. Later on, however, in the film, she ultimately learns that human beings are capable of great malice, the pure evil aspect too, and ugliness independent of outside influences. This meaning that it wasn't just Ares that corrupted man or mankind, but also their free will per se. And despite this grim reality, Diana is inspired by the sacrificial love of Steve Trevor to choose to protect and fight for humanity because of the love they are capable of rather than what they deserve. And we see this like change of heart again at the end with the sacrifice of Steve Trevor and her sparing Dr. Maru's life in the film. Dr. Maru being uh like the MacGuffin character that creates a mustard gas based on hydrogen, supposed to be super deadly, goes through even protective wear. Second theme we see in the film is the theme of sacrifice and heroism. The theme of self-sacrifice serves as the emotional anchor of the movie. Again, seen at the end with the character of Steve Trevor and his ultimate sacrifice that acts as the catalyst for Diana to finally understand and achieve her true heroism power, right? While she is defeated under the power of Ares, it isn't until she sees the plane carrying Steve exploding that her like ability really unlocks. Um, and it shows that ordinary humans are not helpless pawns, but they possess incredible courage, loyalty, and willingness to give their life to save others. Again, Diana in this movie is the fish out of water. So we are seeing these elements of humanity's goodness through the character of Steve Trevor. Um, and then lastly, the film also touches on gender equality and humanity, the humanity part, Steve Trevor, which is in the film, this flips from the traditional comic book power dynamics by having Diana act as a powerful, capable survivor who views men and women as equals. This narrative challenges the patriarchal attitudes of the era, elevating women not only as physical, capable warriors, but as moral intellect equals in the fight for justice. This gender equality is subtle, but you can see it if you're paying attention to it. One of the first ones we encounter is when she arrives in the world of men, this being London, the setting for this film. Um, Steve is telling her like, "Hey, you can't come into this meeting." She still does not listen. It is a character trait of Diana in this film that, doesn't matter who's in power. It can be her mom, the Queen of the Amazons. She will always break the rules and go ahead and like butt in. So you can see her in these meetings like butting in, being like, I am equal to you. Uh if Yeah, because she does not think of a power imbalance. She does not think herself as better. But in the meetings with the generals of the armies, they do look down upon her, right? They're like, why is this woman in here? Who is this woman? What are they doing? Later on, there's a scene where they're trying to like figure out a writing on Dr. Maru's book, and they can't figure it out. But again, it is Diana, who is this mythological creature in our society, right? In the film, they're very much real. That knows many languages, and she immediately, what a bunch of men, experts in the areas, right, could not decipher. She deciphers that there's the combination of Ottoman and Sumerian languages. That is Dr. Afra's writing in. So now the reason I chose this film is because of the article we had to read in relation, and the article talks Gabian Martin's article, The Hidden Goddess, the Erasure and Pseudo-Empowerment Narrative of the Goddess in Wonder Woman 2017. Of course, this is the film I chose to watch because I wanted to see how his points related to the film on my own perspective. And going over the themes, I can already see why the author Gabian Marin is saying like, hey, this is not really feminist woman empowerment. This is like halved. It is not fully there, right? The author argues that the film, Wonder Woman, appears to empower women, but actually reinforces patriarchal ideals by weakening female agency and replacing the original feminist mythology of, the powerful Amazonians with a male-centered narrative. In this case, I will say I totally agree with the author in this point because we see it in the themes. Wonder Woman does not unlock her full ability with the Amazons while she was training. She does it until Steve sacrifices himself for the betterment of humanity, right? To save both sides of the war, not just the the Allied powers. Um, the Americans, the Europe, the British European, and all these people, but everyone. He does not want to see people suffer, and it is his sacrifice that unlocks her ability to believe in humankind. It is his interaction with the Amazons that encourages Diana to like leave, even if they imply that she is a rebel in her community. She never does leave the island. She stays in the safety of the island until Steve goes in and encourages her. You can say maybe persuades her to leave the island. And this male narrative is very much prevalent, which is very different from Wonder Woman's creation. Now, Wonder Woman was created in 1941, so many a years before this film is supposed to take place, which is very funny, um, by the American psychologist and writer William Moulton Marston, right, under the pen name Charles Moulton. and with the help of the artist G. Peter. Now, Marston's original idea is that Wonder Woman would be an embodiment of strong, independent womanhood and designed her as a psychological propaganda. So the idea of Wonder Woman when she hits the comic book pages in 1941 is that trying to psychologically tell the young readers at this time, right, that hey, women can also be empowered. It is not a thing like Superman does not have to be the only superpowered like superhero, right? We have Wonder Woman, and then he based it, of course, on the Greek mythology, Greek Roman mythology of the Amazons, and stuff like that. But then going back to uh Gabian, I wanted to focus on um Etta Candy. Etta Candy is a character we see very little of in the film, but when we do see, we see two conflicting ideologies, I would say, in her. This first one is something the author of the article, Gabian Marin, references, is that women are shown policing other women's behavior. We see this primarily with um we see this with Hippolyta and Antipathy in Themyscira, but when she gets to the world of man, it's even more noticeable, right? The Amazonians disguise it as, hey, we're protecting her. She is the greatest weapon after all against the gods, against the god Ares. So they're kind of protecting her and saying it this way, and you can see it like that because there is no man to corrupt. But once she gets to London and she meets the Etta Candy character, of course, and Steve Trevor, they both like stop her from interacting how she would normally. You know, Steve encourages her to not take off her coat because she's not actually wearing any clothing. As you can see here, right? It's that like tight armor corset and a like short skirt. That is how she was originally designed. Uh, it was originally spandex, of course, not an armor piece, but you know, they are warrior women, so it's an armor piece in this case. And then we meet Etta Candy, who is Steve Trevor's secretary. She is played in this film by the British actress Lucy Davis, which I will say does a tremendous job, right? But we can see her enforcing these as the author said, these patriarchal archetypes in which the idea of the patriarchy is not only enforced by men but also by other women, be it because they believe in it, they're just trying to protect other women, and in the film we see her as being the person who introduces Diana to society, with taking her shopping for like appropriate clothing, right? Giving her her Diana Prince disguise. Yet I argue a little bit with the author here because in that small interaction Etta Candy has with Diana, with Wonder Woman, we see that she is or believes in the feminist cause and the suffragette movement, right? She mentions that while she is Steve Trevor's secretary, she is the one that does all the work. Whatever Steve wants, she does it. Diana equates this to slavery, and she goes like, "Well, you can say it is, but you know, I am being paid. If the pay is nice, the benefits are nice." And I believe it shows that the women during this time period were in fact, at least some women believed in these notions, these patriarchal ideals, yet still had hope that one day, women would get vote, like Edis tells Diana, right? That they will achieve greater standings in society under a patriarchal rule. Another point the author makes is that of um that Diana gives all the credit to men instead of herself. In this film, we see that it is Diana that pushes mankind, but specifically men in this war, to embrace their bravery. A clear example of this is when, this whole team that Trevor has set up with a variety of casts, you would say, right? You have the female empowerment with Wonder Woman, the Native American representation with Chief, that, his land was taken by Steve Trevor's people, the Americans. You have a Scottish man, a French man, who all have different dreams and aspirations, yet society, because of who they are, have pushed them down, right? The Native American has no place because it was taken from him. The Frenchman that's the little one with the little hat, wants to be an actor, but because of his skin tone, they're not giving him a chance. The Scottish man, right, he is a singer and an artist in heart, but is haunted by the ghost of war, right? The people he has lost. And Steve Trevor is supposed to be the manly man, right? Who early in the film tells Diana that he had tried doing nothing, but that wasn't good enough for him. So now he is trying to do something. Do something here is trying to get rid of this weapon, right? But still, it's Diana, the one that encourages these men to keep on fighting or risk themselves to actually do risk. And we see this in the trench scene where they're in the trenches, and Diana stops to talk to this one woman, saying like, "Hey, if we don't," she's speaking in German to Diana. Diana, of course, understands her, and she's saying like, "They're taking our people, they're becoming slaves if we don't help them. They're suffering, our children, our women, even our elderly." And Diana feels compassion for them, so tries to go into no man's land, and Steve stops her. It's like, "Hey, do not go there. You will not survive." At this point, Steve does not believe, really, kind of, but doesn't really believe of the goddess nature of Wonder Woman, Diana, but stops her, right? And goes like, "Hey, you should not, right? These men have been here for a year. They have barely moved an inch. Yet Diana, showing real empowerment, goes through no man's land, takes on all the firepower, so the soldiers can like move in and start overtaking and then eventually uh occupy the little city of Vin, the little German city that the lady was talking about, right? And here again, we see it is thanks to Diana's bravery, this woman of power, right? That they managed to safely occupy the city or restore peace to the city while they're there. Yet it's uh at the end of the film that Diana does not take the credit. She gives the credit to Steve. And the author Gabian Marin uh connects this to the idea that all female accomplishments, if it is impossible to deny, they must relate back to a men to men who allowed them the opportunity to achieve them. And this is what we see in the film. Even though it is Wonder Woman, Diana, who has achieved to bring these peace, it is Steve Trevor's sacrifice that allowed her to do this. Right? It is his death that empowered her. So by proxy, it's because of him. It's because of a man. And there is other films that touch an ideal like this. I would go back to say the Iron Jaw Angels. These women are outside of the White House trying to make President Woodrow Wilson turn not turn, but like actually put in an amendment to the constitutions where women are allowed to vote. And while they did a lot of progress, it was the men who ended up doing it, right? Because they had to vote to get it through, even if it was their sacrifice and their suffering that got that attention out to the public to make these senators, these House representatives, the president in that film even to change their minds, right? And this is why I kind of agree and disagree at the same time with Gabian's article here, right? It is true. The narrative in 2017's Wonder Woman, while it is of empowering a woman, this case through the lens of Wonder Woman, it does pretty much rely on the male character of Steve Trevor, Steve Pine, Chris Pine's character, and I think that's where its shortcomings fall. This movie can be seen as a pretty nice and interesting, um, nice and interesting concepts and themes that you can see, but it's under. It is not thanks to Wonder Woman. It is thanks to Steve Trevor that Wonder Woman gets to achieve all of this. Even at the end of the film, we see that um, Wonder Woman is narrating. It's like a narration story. She narrates that it's thanks to Steve that she still fights today to protect humanity or humans from them. It is thanks to him that she still does the good fight and she didn't give up on the world. But yeah, uh, thank you for listening to me. Um, and have a great rest of your night.